Yes, I did publish a poetry book. So I'm gonna try to make this video as quick as possible because last time I posted a video, it was 15 minutes long. Like, I can't even watch a 15-minute long video all the way through. But welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Tasha, and I am a poet slash author slash artist. And if you've been to my channel before, you know all this. Like, this is nothing new. But if you are new to my channel, welcome. This is me. This is the channel. And this is my poetry book. It is called Blind Sight. And yeah, so basically that's what this video is about. It's about my book. Last video that I posted like a month ago, it was how I published the book. And now I'm just gonna do a quick little video on what my book is even about. And maybe you're interested in buying it. And the link will be in the description to buy it if you are interested. Obviously, I probably said this like 20 million times, but it is a poetry book, which means it's a collection of poems. I published it June 28th of this year, so 2021, and it has 300, my brain is slipping. It has 138 pages and 101 poems. So it took me about like 6 months to write. I started in January of 2021, and obviously I published it in June, so it's like about 6 months. It's only my first book, so it did take me very long. For a poetry book, I feel like that's a decent amount of time, especially since I'm a first-time author, and I only really started writing like 3 years ago, so I think that's pretty good. But you know, I'm also working on a second book, which that will be, I'll talk about that in my next video next week. So my book, I made it entirely myself, meaning I made the cover myself. You can admire that real quick. And then obviously the back is just simple. It's just a little poem quote that kind of like summarizes the whole book. Obviously I wrote the poems. I made like these little chapter pages, obviously, and like illustrations. There are some drawings in there that I made myself. Like, I did the entire thing myself from front to back. So as I just said, the book includes like illustrations, poems, uplifting poems, all that stuff. I should probably explain what my book is about. So basically what this book is even about, since like I haven't said that yet, is it's about mental health. Like, in 2 words, it's about mental health. More specifically, it's about like healing. So basically it's just like about the journey of healing. And so there's 5 chapters in my book. Basically throughout these 5 chapters, you go through like the journey of healing, like healing for mental health. First chapter and the first 2 chapters is like kind of like in the darker stages of healing, like when you're still like very much struggling with mental health and just like how that feels, and like trouble with self-image, like suicidal ideation, self-harm, stuff like that. Okay, and then by the end of the book, you're like at a point in your life where you're happy with yourself. It's more uplifting poems at the end of it. Like, yeah. So basically it starts out with like really dark and depressing, and then by the end of the book you're like, oh my god, I'm happy now. Like, obviously that's not how healing works, but it's just like, you know, the journey of healing within stages split into 5 chapters. The only thing that I found like an issue with my book is, since it's about like the journey of healing, basically how I formatted it is it goes from like straight from bad to good. Like chapter 1 is like the worst, and then chapter 5 is like the best. It's from like good to bad, right? And since we're talking about like healing for mental health, it's just like when you're really dark and depressed and then you're happy, just a straight line, which is not how healing actually works. Like, that's the only fault in this book, which is why when I'm writing my second book, it is similar themes to my first book. It is like the same idea, except it's more healing is not linear. So in my second book, it still has the same themes as this book, except it's not from bad to good. It's more of like bad, good, bad, good, bad, good. So it's like up and down, because like that's how healing really is. So that's the only fault with this book, is that it's like from point A to point B, which is not how healing works. But yeah. And why did I decide to write about mental health? First of all, I struggle with mental health. But what better thing to write about than something that you experience yourself? And a lot of poets write about mental health because whether or not you have something diagnosed, everyone has mental health. And everyone struggles with it at one point or another. So like mental health is just something that everyone can relate to, no matter where they are in their healing journey, where they are mentally, like everyone can relate to it because it's something that we all have and we all experience trouble with at one point or another in our life. And obviously I have struggled with it before, and it's just writing poetry is kind of how I cope. And so I thought that like my poetry would be relatable to someone else who was struggling, and I honestly just want my poetry to help people. And I really like when people message me telling me that they read my book and it really helped them feel understood and heard, because that is exactly what I want. Like when I wrote this book, I was like, I just want people to be happy. I want people to read this book and feel not so alone and feel understood and feel like motivated. I want my book to encourage people to get better and to feel happy, and I just want to like motivate and inspire people, which is why I write poetry about mental health and why I am publishing 2 books. Also, I wrote this book to bring awareness to mental health because even though we all have mental health, not people are just aware of how serious it is, especially amongst the Black community. There is this stigma around mental health and people of color that we don't experience it, like mental health problems, or that like we can't have mental disorders, and that like it's not as big of a deal in the Black community, which is such a lie. No, that is not how it works. Skin tone has nothing to do with mental illness. Like I just really wanted to bring awareness to that like mental health is real for everybody, no matter your sex, gender, sexual orientation, skin tone, religion. Like it's real for everybody. I mentioned that I've been writing poetry for about 3 years, so since I was 13, and that was always what I wrote about. When I first like discovered poetry and I started writing poetry, it was always about mental health and just like challenges that a lot of people go through that a lot of people could relate to, and just like, you know, just life in general and like mental health. And it's always been what I wrote about. Also, after I graduate university, I want to become a psychologist. So, I mean, what better to write about? So yeah, that's why I wrote about mental health. Okay, now since I talk too much because ADHD, I'm just gonna summarize everything I just said because I probably did not explain anything right. So basically, I published a book. It's about mental health. It has 101 poems, and it has poems from the bad to the good. Everything that's terrible about mental health to everything that you can experience if you heal from it. And it has motivational poems to inspire you and make you feel less alone and encourage you to get better. And it's definitely a book that anyone who struggles with mental health should read. Promise you, it's gonna be an amazing read. So if you want to buy it, link is in the description. It's available on Amazon worldwide, no matter where you live. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so I'm just gonna read like 2 or 3 poems from my book just to give you a little taste of like what you would be reading. And obviously I'm only like reading 2 or 3, so like it's not the whole book, but you'll just hear a little something. This is from chapter 4, and it's called Road to Healing. This path was paved for all the things I must let go of. A road of wounding made at this dead end, and I still can't let go. So that's a little short one. I'm gonna read this one. It's a little bit long, but I'm only gonna read these 2 because I don't want this video to be too long. But if you are interested in hearing more of my poetry, you can follow my TikTok and you can watch some of those videos. I post my poetry on there as well. I've come to learn I am too complicated for the human mind. I want you to stay, but regardless, I push you away. I want so badly to pour out my emotions for you, but I won't say a word. I will cry when I see you in tears, but allow myself to be completely and utterly consumed by my own. I build up a wall to guard my emotions and sow nothing but anger because I feel too deeply beyond comprehension. And I'm deeply feeling that I am too complicated and no one is willing to study me. I think I'm gonna leave it at that for y'all. And if you want to hear more of my poetry, then obviously follow my TikTok, also my Instagram. You should follow my Instagram. There's a lot of my poems on there as well. Yeah. And stay tuned for next week so you can hear about my 2nd book that is coming out very soon, like probably in a month. So get excited. If you did like what you heard from this book, please go check out the link in the description and buy it for yourself, and maybe even leave a review and let me know what you think. I would really appreciate that. And if you enjoy my presence, comment down below, like, and subscribe so you can see my face again. Bye.